What about Babo's position, Ambassador Carson, that on the contrary, he did actually win the election because the Electoral Commission of Ivory Coast, as far as the country's constitution is concerned, all it has come up with, frankly, is what is called provisional results. That it is up to the Constitutional Council, and as far as their constitution is concerned, which comes up with the final legitimate results, and that was the Constitutional Council which in fact decided that Babo had in fact won the election. And as you know, Babo seems to be supported, really, at least his position seems to be endorsed by several African countries, mainly Anglophone countries. We're talking about South Africa especially, we're talking about Angola, Uganda seems to be on board, so does Tanzania, and probably to a less extent Ghana.
Let me say that the statement that you just made about the Constitutional Council being able to determine the election is factually inaccurate and is a reflection of the propaganda that President Gbagbo's people have effectively put out on the street. I am absolutely convinced, based on what I have heard from the United Nations report and the UN Special Representative, Mr. Choi, who was out there, from what I have heard from officials directly and indirectly from the Carter Center who were present at the elections, what I have seen from the National Democratic Institute, from IRI and others, that indeed Alassane Ouattara won this election, and indeed the actions of the Constitutional Court were not correct, and that the Senate did in fact act correctly, that the votes showed throughout the country that Alassane Ouattara won this election. I
see. Well, you know, the Ivorians have actually tried to compare and contrast with our elections back in the year 2000, when, of course, you know that the election between George W. Bush and Al Gore was too close to call, especially in Florida, to the extent that eventually it was the U.S. Supreme Court which actually appointed President George W. Bush by a 5-4 decision with Republican-leaning judges.
Quite a difference there. Our elections are open and transparent, and our courts do their work visibly and in front of the people. We saw no police on the street. We saw no Army tanks surrounding the Gulf Hotel. There was no intimidation of the election commissioner. The election commissioner in the Ivory Coast had to go to the Gulf Hotel to announce his results because he was fearful of his life. He thought that if he announced the proper results at the election commission, he would be killed and his family would be killed. Immediately after he announced those results, he left the country because he knew that his life was in danger. Here was a case in which the United Nations, as well as the Election Commission, knew precisely what the vote outcome was. And in fact, the election commissioner, the president of the election commissioner, went into hiding for a number of days because he was fearful that he would be killed. And once he was safe enough to announce the results, he had to leave the country immediately. No one is asking him what he thinks, and if people have asked him, he has said that the results reflected the will of the people.
Of the people.
And he is, again, a man who has had to flee his own country. As far as I'm aware, former Vice President Al Gore is here in country, is a respected individual, a Nobel laureate, and continues to honor and respect our Constitution, as well as the president who beat him, as well as other presidents before and after.